Hey Lance, Harry Mack from the Bookie's Basement. I hope all is well. I just wanted to ask you, what would you say the biggest differences are between the old World Series of Fighting and the PFL as it's currently constructed?
You can't really compare those two, I don't think. There's a completely different format as far as the system for the fights and the season compared to World Series of Fighting was just um, trying to find guys to be able to fight the title holders at the time and trying to hold enough shows in a year to stay afloat. I mean, it was completely different from this. It was, I would say the organization was a lot different as far as being less organized than the format that we're in now. I mean, I went either 6 or 8 months between each fight, and it was awesome, but it was basically in its infancy of the organization that we are now with PFL. I mean, it's completely different from the people who are helping run it to I mean, there's a lot of people that came from World Series on the backside and are in PFL now, but I feel like the format that we have, the organization that we have, there's just a lot more things, and I feel like we've all seen the way that World Series was run, and we brought all the positives from that and just took off with it for PFL.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Tom Ward.
Hi, Brandon. Tom Ward from Gimme Sport. Hope you're well. I just want to ask you, obviously you're the two-time champ, right? But do you feel like there's a certain element of added pressure? Do you feel like you've got a target on your back, or are you just so used to going through the motions that it's just, I don't know, an everyday for you?
I get this question a lot, but I feel like the target on my back has been there since I was like 10 years old in wrestling. So it's not really, I don't really consider it anything. I'm chasing my own goals, and everybody else just has to catch up to try and chase me. That's kind of the mentality that I have. And it's not a overconfident or cocky mentality. It's just the way that I was raised and the mindset that my dad told me to have. And there were some times where I would go into matches not as confident as I should have been for the work that I'd put in to get there. So I think having that confidence and that ability to kind of distance myself from the other competitors that I compete against is that's mainly it. Just knowing that I put the amount of work in that I have, and it's started at a young age. It wasn't like I started fighting at 24, but I've been competing my entire life. So the competition is why I do it over anything else. So I think competing for so many years, you just get used to the same stress of every competition, and it's just the stress is all the same. There's just different levels of it.
That leads me on nicely to my next question. Obviously, you and Bubba have a bit of a shared history, and he's been in the press recently saying he beat you for a Big Mac and an orange soda. Could you just touch on that a little bit? Like, obviously, the relationship between you two in terms of college wrestling and everything, does that kind of give you a bit more of an added edge?
I don't know. I mean, that was 13 years ago when we wrestled, and he beat me more times than I had beaten him that year. That's basically all it comes down to. I mean, that was 2008. So if he's dwelling on 2008, then I hope so, because I mean, this is a completely different sport, and I'm a completely different athlete than I was in 2008. And I mean, there's not really much to touch on there. I mean, we do have a history, so I guess that's what he's trying to hang his hat on.
My final question to you is, obviously, you're all locked in a bubble at the moment. Have you bumped into any of your potential opponents? Like, what's the reaction been like?
I've seen a couple guys, like obviously Brennan just walked out, but I don't have any, like, I don't walk around just like trying to be a tough guy and like try and fight everybody. I'm super low key, kind of stay to myself, but I like to joke around. I like to have fun. And even if I am fighting somebody, I don't have to dislike that person to go in there and be able to try and beat them in a fight. So you fight for 15 or 25 minutes, and that's it. Like I don't really have like an added edge against anybody as far as like trying to act like a tough guy walking around the hotel, or I mean, people that do that, I feel like they just lack confidence.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time and good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
Mark LaMonica.
Lance, hello. Mark LaMonica from Newsday. Obviously, a two-time defending champion. This year, format's a little bit different. Only 4 people go to the playoffs. What do you think that's going to do for people? I mean, obviously, the league has always incentivized finishes, but now it's a lot harder to sort of coast and get that decision and feel comfortable with what's going to happen. So, what are you expecting to see now that only top 4 go?
I don't think we're going to see anything different. The new format, all it does is take 4 people out of the playoffs, so it doesn't really make much sense because you could have 5 people with finishes and still have 4 people only making it. I don't know. It's interesting, but my goal is to win, and if I win my 2 fights and don't get in, still that puts me at a 13 fight win streak and still happy and still winning, and maybe other opportunities arise. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just focused on Friday right now, but the new formatting of it is definitely, I don't think it changes anything. Everybody already has that urgency that we have to try and get finishes and do our best out there. So I think in the regular season, you just focus on getting your wins, and nobody is really focused on finishing a fight when you go into it. You're just focused on going in there and doing your best. And if the finish comes, then that's great. I don't think I was the number 1 seed going into the playoffs in 2018. I don't even think I was top 2 or 3 actually. So I don't really care about the seeding. I just care about winning. And if winning doesn't get me in the playoffs, then not much else you can do there. But if you look at every other sport that has a system in place, and say football, you win more than half of your games, or say you win 12 games out of 16, you're going to be in the playoffs 100% of the time. So if you win both fights and don't get in the playoffs, it doesn't really make sense for a playoff structure. But that's I guess that's its own different conversation.
And then just one more. You've been in this fight game a long time, seen it all. For you, what's the hardest thing about a fight?
At this point in my life, it's probably being away from my family, maybe. The training, all the training is the same. I mean, in my 30s now, I think being 34, I think the training has changed a little bit for doing the right things and the right recovery and making my body feel the best that it can feel, on top of training hard at the same time. So training harder, but smarter as well. But being away from family, being away from the wife and daughter, that's probably the biggest change over the last 8 weeks for me. Other than that, nothing really has changed over the last 10 years. Just my focus has changed, and the reason why I fight has changed a little bit. But other than that, nothing really crazy has happened.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Sergio, do you have a question?
Yes, this is Sergio from the Fight Podcast. Lance, you are multiple time champion. You've won this tournament multiple times as well. This season, with all this, they added star power this season. Would winning it this season have any more significance to you?
I think each season has had its own significance. This would definitely be a great season to win with the competition, but as well as the circumstances that we're in. I mean, we're in this bubble. This is our 14th day in the bubble right now, and it'll be 17 by fight day. So I think we're in a unique scenario of seeing who can handle these situations. And I think the next regular season fight's going to be exactly the same, as far as 17 days in here and dealing with that on top of everything else that goes on outside of the bubble with other businesses that people run and families and things like that. So I think that's the main significance, is we're dealing with a lot of things outside of the bubble. I mean, not everybody has other things going on outside of here, but I do. So there's a lot going on the back end as far as dealing with daily things that go on for my other two businesses outside of me just being stuck in here, and then having a family at home also, and making sure that everything's good on that end, and getting help for my wife and daughter if they need it. And that's basically it. I mean, I don't think there's added significance because of the people that are in here.
Danny.
Hey Lance, Danny for MMA Junkie. Just a couple questions on Bubba. He was very respectful, but he did kind of mention that he feels like he has an edge over you just because of your history and in wrestling. Obviously, it's a different sport that does involve wrestling, but and also was a long time ago. But do you feel like there's something to that? Do you feel like he has an edge, or do you feel like you maybe have something to prove since I guess you didn't have too much success according to him in your wrestling days?
No, not at all.
Yeah. And you just mentioned it, like being away from your family. I know you recently had a baby girl. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Is this the most amount of time that you've been away from her?
Pretty much her whole life so far, except for weekends. So yeah, it's I mean, she's only 9 weeks old, so we're looking at the first like 2 weeks or week and a half that she was alive. I was there the whole time, but basically Saturdays and Sundays were the only times that I was home during this entire camp, and then add this 17-day quarantine on top of it. I haven't seen her since before, 2 weeks ago, basically. So yeah, it's definitely weird, like watching her grow on FaceTime and pictures and videos instead of in person.
Thank you. Good luck in the tournament.
Thank you.
Up next, Curtis.
Hey, Lance, Curtis from the Big Curtis Show. Hey, man, I want to say congratulations, man, on the new baby girl.
Thank you.
I know you've been training, and I've been seeing you train with, people like TJ Dillashaw, Juan Archuleta, the guys in Jersey, Frankie Edgar. How are these guys going to help you improve your performance, man, this season?
I've been training with these guys since the 2019 season also, but I think it's, I've always been close with Juan and TJ, and Brian Ortega had a fight coming up with Volkanovski, so I was giving him looks for his fight, and we were getting good training in there. And Cub Swanson had a fight coming up also, I believe the week after my fight. So I've had a lot of good guys to train with, and we were all in camp at the same time, and it's just a similar mindset and similar attitude going into it. And Juan and I have been really close for a long time. Our families are pretty much family. So I think, honestly, over all the training and obviously the good work that we get together, I think it's the family environment and the friendship and everything else. I mean, we know how to train super hard together and not hurt each other. And I think that's being a good partner and being a good teammate is a lot of that. And Frankie and Eddie in New Jersey and all the other guys in Jersey, they're the same exact way. I mean, that's why we have such a small team out there, is because everybody is tight knit. It's like a family there. And Mark Henry, Ricardo Almeida, Nick Catone, all the coaches, they're all great people. And once I started training there in 2019, it was like instant. I became family and became close with those guys, and they were all people that I admired and looked up to before I even trained with them. So for them to bring me in and just be part of their team and have that like-mindedness and the same mentality and mindset going into training was just easy. It's easy to train with people who are like-minded.
Lance, I thank you, man. I wish you the best of luck this season, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll take our last question for Tariq.
Hey, Lance, what's up, man? It's Tariq from the Havoc Hour. What's going on, brother? Hey, listen, so we've heard from you a lot about how the inactivity last season was real frustrating. And, now you're facing a guy in Bubba who, have somewhat of a history with. Was there anything different that you might have done in training camp this year to kind of get reacclimated?
Not really. I honestly felt really good getting into camp right away. I don't know if it was from having a lot of the rest and being able to train when I wanted to train last year and not having to train through injuries, or just having open mind and freedom to do whatever instead of getting ready for 5 fights in a row. So I would say the biggest difference was just being fresh, and my mind being fresh, my body being fresh, kind of like a clean slate coming in for this fight camp. That was the main thing. And obviously, when it comes down to having inactivity, he's been inactive way longer than me. So I think I don't really look into that stuff too much. I know that a lot of people talk about ring rust and things like that, but it's been a lot longer that since he's fought last compared to the last time that I fought. So I feel like if we have any advantages, that may be one of them too.
Also, I know you're not really a big talker, but I know Bubba had a prediction of finishing the second round. You got a response for that?
Yeah, he's talking about me finishing him probably.
All right, good luck, brother.
Thanks, man. Good talking to you.
All right, we're actually going to take 1 or 2 more questions. Let's go with Curtis.
I'm sorry, I just answered my question. I forgot to put my hand down.
I'm so sorry. Let's do Andrew Benjamin.
Hey Lance, Andrew with MMAsucker.com. When Bubba was on the press conference just previously, he predicted a second round knockout against you. I'm curious to know, do you have a prediction for how you will make the fight go in your favor?
I think you just missed my answer a second ago, but I feel that I'm going to finish him. I don't know what round, or I don't really care to make a prediction, honestly, but I do agree. I think if he catches me and knocks me out is the only way he can win this fight.
Great. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Sean.
Hi, Lance. There's Sean Sheen here from Severe Med. There's been a lot of talk recently about the best featherweight in the world, whether it's Patricio Pitbull, Max Holloway, or Alexander Volkanovski. Where would you put yourself in that talk, and do you think your name belongs with those names?
I think so. I did do an interview about this, and they asked me some questions about it. It's hard because I don't get to compete against any of those guys. You look at that, you look at those guys, and they're kind of in a promotion that has been around for a long time. The competition is well known there. The marketing is great there. They have their ranking system, their own ranking system, and that's kind of what people go off of. But I feel that I'm in the conversation for best featherweight in the world, but until I get to face one of those people, that's the only way I get to prove it. I can't really prove it, no matter how tough this roster is. And I know a lot of these guys on this, pretty much everybody on this roster is really high level and everybody's really tough, but it's not going to prove that I'm the best featherweight in the world. The only way the main core group of people or media or anybody else is going to think I'm the best featherweight is if I fight one of those guys and get to beat them. And that's really it. I mean, we could talk all day, but until I get the opportunity to actually fight one of those guys who everyone else considers is the best, then it'll just be talking.
Do you think that this will be your last tournament at PFL, and you're going to try to move on to the UFC or one of the other organizations to prove that?
I don't know. We'll see. I think for now, I'm just focused on this Friday, obviously, and I'm really happy with being able to fight again and this season of PFL. But like I talked about a little bit ago, you could win both your fights and still not get in the playoffs. So that may change things for the future also. So we'll see. I'm just focused on this Friday, and then we'll go from there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Matthew. Last Out Media.
Yeah. Hi, Lance. How you doing? We're sort of dancing around this, best in the world at featherweight thing. And I was wondering, is there any perhaps skill or something that you do that you think you are the best in the world at?
Yeah, I think I could take anyone down, and that changes the course of the fight. And with all these other organizations being able to throw elbows, obviously we can't throw elbows in PFL, and that's a huge part of my game and opening guys up on the ground and being able to get to my submission game. So I think that changes a lot of things if I were in a fight where I could get a takedown and throw elbows. and set up my other stuff on the ground. So, I mean, a lot of people are high level wrestlers in the sport, but not many people are able to use their MMA wrestling to get to those positions and take people down who usually don't get taken down. I mean, all of those guys that are being mentioned are all striking based. I mean, Holloway has a good ground game, jiu-jitsu based game, but not a wrestling based game. And I've trained and sparred and competed with the best featherweights in the world at one time or another, and I know that I'm at the top of that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, our last question for real this time will go to Darnell.
Hi, Lance. This is Darnell Giovanni with MMA Island. If you win the competition again this year for the third time, you have any intention on maybe going to lightweight and seeing if you can win a championship there as well?
Not really. I feel that I'm a true featherweight. I don't think that'll help the conversation for me being the best featherweight. I think the only other option would be to go somewhere else and compete against the guys that the media talks about as being the best featherweights in the world. So I think that would be the only option from here, or bringing one of them to the PFL. So I don't know. It's hard to focus on things that far ahead with my focus being on this fight this weekend, but obviously it'd be great to get the wins again this year and end this season on a high note, and then start the negotiating from there. So we'll see. But I think just proving that I'm the best featherweight is my main goal, and whatever it takes to do that is obviously, not all of it's in my hands, just because the other top guys that are being considered are in other organizations right now. So that's kind of hard for me to prove anything this year, except continue to do what I'm doing, continue to win, continue to beat these guys that are here right now, and kind of solidify myself as the best featherweight here, and then move on from that.
Good luck on Friday, Lance.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, Lance, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.